come up and introduce yourself and,
There.
yeah,
Yep.
if you'd like to the mics.
Put you in a hot seat,
Well, I
Doug.
really don't need it.
Oh,
I'm Doug Kaiser from Leslie Township, and I'm here on behalf of Leslie Township. The other gentleman couldn't attend either because they have work or felt that it would be a conflict. So there's you guys aren't deciding on this development today, I guess. It's scheduled for the 21st or something. But the roads in question there along this, previously it was agriculture land. And I mean, it's been going on for a little while now where he started with a plat and changed it to a different plat, lowered, you know. I think what is happening is he doesn't want to have to affect the right-of-ways there. And the one right-of-way that's in this one development part or that he wants to develop is private, public, maintained. Okay, and the other part doesn't even have a big turnaround cul-de-sac. So, I mean, everything on the lake side of this development has been developed up, and we maintain one part of this road. Well, I feel, or we feel, that if there's gonna be more people moving in there, whether it's 7 lots or 27 lots, we feel that the infrastructure should at least be addressed to be brought up so that we can get service vehicles in there, get things turned around. The cul-de-sacs aren't big enough. We basically have a little back around thing, so when they do develop it up, service vehicles, emergency vehicles can get in there. I mean, we don't necessarily have to connect the two roads, which would be an ideal thing, because there's just a ditch that separates them, and I think there might be a landowner issue why it was never connected back in the day. But these roads need to be addressed at some point, and it isn't, we don't feel it's the board's responsibility to build new roads, okay? I feel that if it's gonna develop, they don't have to put in an easement or a road for their new development, and they're gonna use the township's roads. At least, I think they should be addressed as to updating them to a county standard. You know, we're not looking for tar or anything like that, but the ditches aren't defined. And as soon as you put in new driveways, you know what happens? You need culverts, you need infrastructure. You know, is the current culverts available to handle all the new runoff that's gonna happen here? Now, I feel, I'm in excavating, so I see developments everywhere. Been a part of a few, and an example, in Douglas County, when we did a large development, we put in our own roads, but when the driveway that went out to the state highway, they required us to put in a bypass lane. So we had to include that in our development there and build a bypass lane on the state highway. So it just shows that you know, it's not to put burden on a developer, but somebody's gonna have to look to the future as far as what's happening, you know, down the road on these developments. I'm not against developing. Great, let's do it. It's more tax money for the county. But we feel that it isn't up to the township to say, hey, because we don't have you guys' power. Our job is to maintain what we currently have and to improve it as we go with either gravel or culverts or whatever. But if there're gonna be more and more traffic there, I think now is the time to say, hey, let's at least get this up so that it's a 2-rod road or has the right easement size, has the ditches, has some sort of plan to where all this water's gonna go when it comes off of the roofs, the driveways, the impervious surfaces. I guess that's what concerns us most, you know, because we're the end users, and when new people come in from wherever they come into, I don't think they're all gonna go to some guy and say, hey, I wanna pay for my road to get snow plowed, or I thought that was a township's responsibility, or what size pipe do I need in my culvert? If we don't have the people that are being paid to do that, help new people, and they just get to do what they want, then that's when the neighbors don't get along. I mean, that's, I feel. And I don't want the county to have to maintain a road that is now a township or was a township road either. We don't have the money to update these roads to require, you know, for the new developments. But I feel that if they're gonna plot land for, there should be money set aside either by the developer or by the new owners to update the road and get it done. Because I know everybody in here, if you're gonna buy a lot near a lake or you're gonna wanna be able to access it and get in there and get turned around without having to stop and wait for somebody to go by you. Some of them roads are pretty narrow in there. And our snow plows are getting bigger, all that stuff. So I don't wanna bore you with any more details. I guess if you have any questions, you can ask.
Any questions?
So Doug, the question's been brought up about the township and their monthly meetings.
Okay.
And when the planning commission meets, and when you guys meet, and sometimes there's a conflict in there where you guys, and being three township officials, you can't call one another without violating the open meeting law.
Right.
So you have to wait for the clerk, or have the clerk get a hold of each one of you individually, which is kind of borderline too, but to inform you of what's going on.
Right.
So if you meet after the planning commission meets,
Right.
and usually the commissioners will get that within a week or two after the planning commission meets, you guys don't have a time frame in there unless we change our ordinance to make sure that the townships, all the townships, can put that in writing and have their comments in writing before the planning commission meets.
Right. And our last month, we didn't get to meet. Our clerk got COVID. We just called it off. We're gonna have it for December meeting. So, I guess I don't get to make all the planning commission meetings, and this, if they're gonna do a plat, you know, they kept changing it, so I had no idea what we're gonna agree to or what we're deciding on. I guess, to me, it doesn't really matter, you know, if they have a final plat or not, but I think infrastructure is the number one key to, before the plat even gets approved. What are you doing about access to these lots? Do we have the right amount of road frontage? Should be the first thing addressed always. We completed one that, not far from this area where the 4 lots had to come out on the existing township easements, and there were some delineated wetlands. And before the plat was approved, the township had to say, yeah, there's a place where they can get out on the road. Now, if I go on the county road and I say I want to put in a new approach, there's a fee, they have to come out and inspect that area, find out what size pipe you need, and that should follow through to even down to the township also. We would come out there, we send our guy out there to look and see where that goes. And one of them easements on that other development half is still privately owned, and it's basically a driveway going in there. And to me, that's, should be eliminated. Any new developments should have a publicly maintained road, or at least brought up to a spec so that we can address it to accept the road and maintain it.
Madam Chair, if I may, Commissioner Newman and I have probably the 2 districts that have the most developments in them. And I think some of the points that Doug has brought up, Commissioner Newman and I have taken many phone calls over because of plots that have been done years ago where there's no public service to these entrances or homes. And I think Doug has brought up some good points. And I'm going to ask Adam, who's here, what Doug is talking about, does that take a modification to get some of these accomplished in our ordinance?
Yes, sure.
I know we aren't supposed to have general discussion, but I think that what points Doug has brought up is some points that Commissioner Newman and I have asked for in the past. And we both face those phone calls when people call us saying, hey, nobody takes care of our road. And then we go through the rigmarole, well, it's between you and the township, and then we get into discussions, and we understand the township doesn't have the money to maintain or even do this kind of stuff. So, yes, we should require it prior to approval, so.
And our ordinance does require that roads be built to a standard, well, our subdivision ordinance says Class B standard, prior to final plating. However, in some of these cases, there is existing public road right-of-way that may or may not be taken over by the township. And when things get really complicated is when they're not, because it's a public road, but who's maintaining it? It's the landowners along there most of the time just so that they have access. And that's where things get really complicated, because it may or may not be tied to that plat. It may be considered off-site, or there are opportunities in my discussions with Jason that you can make improvements, but then there's development agreements that need to take place, because there might be ownership on the opposite side of the road where those people may have a responsibility to assist in upgrading that road along with the developer, or the township has to step up because the responsibility doesn't lie solely on that developer because they only have one half of the road.
Well, what I'd like to see us is be more proactive in these things rather than reactive, because when we get into reactive, we can't correct it most of the time, so I would like to see us be ahead of the game, so. I don't know how Commissioner Newman feels, but
I really value my township's input on any plat or on anything that involves there's jurisdiction as far as the road authority. So I think we really need to take a serious look at this.
And that could be implemented in our ordinance as part of our, we have a dirt team process where we are required to go out on site and gather people like the township and Lauren and myself and get all those comments, just the same as that. That can be part of our application process, where we could not even accept an application until we get a response from a township potentially.
I would like to see the developers be well aware of this before they even start a plot.
Correct.
And most,
They know I gotta do this.
Right?
because the surveyors have been through the process before, but there are some individual people that have a chunk of land they want to split into 3 before they move off or something, where they're not nearly as educated.
I think
So,
we should look at it.
okay.
Good?
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
And Barb, there is no public comment on the email.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome to the Warrants Collaboration Center. Please enter. You will now be placed into a conference. Press star to announce.
I just thought we'd put him in a different position. His choice, I guess, but. Maybe we'll talk about it here. Maybe we'll talk about it here. Is that the?
I think we're gonna have to take a break about so far down there.
Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Like this goes.
Like Commissioner Myers said last night, it's a good way to ruin a Good Friday.
Good morning, and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Today is Friday, December 10th. The time is 9 a.m. All commissioners are present, along with the auditor, treasurer, and the coordinator. We will stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair.
Seeing no amendments to the agenda, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Denise?
Potential consent items today are the meeting minute approval for November 16th, 2021. Appoint relative search child services specialist Stacy Wolbeck. Start date is to be determined. Hire part-time road deputy Nathan Prezella. I'm probably didn't say his name right, but start date is to be determined. Resignation of solid waste supervisor Jeremy Klausman, 1/3/2022, and a gambling permit for Lake Osakis Association.
Is there a motion for the approval of the consent items?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second for discussion, Madam Chair.
Second by Kircher. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the question, I know maybe I've asked this before, but the day we hire them today, is that their hire date, but you got a start date different because it says to be determined? So do we actually have their hire date as today?
We put their hire date in the county.
I may have asked this before, but I get a little confused on this, so, when we get down the road and when retirement comes,
Yep. Their hire date with the county is the day they start employment with us.
okay,
So, some people need to give 3 weeks' notice. We work that out with them, and then we establish a hire date.
okay. So today is not their official hire date then?
Correct.
Correct, and the challenge is that a person who's coming on potentially for employment here would not give notice with their current employer until this board approves their hire.
Yeah.
So that's why the date
I
is to
know
be
we've, in the
determined.
past, when I was a department head, we had issues about, well, when did they start? Because if the board hired them here and they started at a different date, and then there's confusion about para and, other things, so I just wanna make sure we're clear on the record here, so,
Yep, it's the first day they perform work for the
Okay.
county.
okay.
And our HR system has a really good tracking,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a great tracking mechanism, so we can have those dates officially established within
Yeah.
our
Okay,
HR.
thank you.
Interesting comment. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Denise?
My first item today is the auditor warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the November 2021 auditor warrants with the ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in $2,789,420.43.
Do we have a motion for the auditor warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Kircher. Discussion? Or, is there any discussion, or we'll do roll call?
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
The next item I have then is to approve the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $171,321.81.
Okay, is there a motion for the commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Any discussion? No discussion, we'll have roll call.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with ACH and regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $102,000, $876.28. Boy, I botched that terrible, didn't I?
Is there a motion for the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Knizel?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item I have is Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment in the amount of $79,195.46.
Is there a motion for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Knizel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item I have then would be the 2022 designation of polling places. Minnesota Statute 204B.16 requires municipalities, school districts, and counties to designate polling place locations by December 31st annually for the next year's elections. Todd County is responsible for designating polling locations for the entire county's absentee precinct and the one mail ballot precinct, which is the city of Swanville, and county special election municipality locations. Your options are to adopt the attached designation polling place or do not. The recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution designating polling places for the Todd County absentee precinct, mail ballot precincts, and special election precincts within Todd County for the 2022 election year.
Okay, is there a motion for the 2022 polling places?
So moved.
Motion by Knizel. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Newman. Discussion? They're the same as they were before, correct?
Nothing's
Denise?
changed.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The next item is the Housing Redevelopment Authority Board appointment. The background is a letter from the Todd County HRA has been received requesting approval for the reappointment of Eva Buell to the Todd County HRA Board, along with the oath of office that Eva Buell has completed. Options are to appoint Eva Buell or do not appoint. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for the reappointment of a 5-year term for Eva Buell to the Todd County HRA Board starting September 18th, 2021.
Okay, is there a motion for the board appointment of Eva Buell to the HRA Board?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I did get all of Kim Wallace, and they do not have a job description for this position. So she's gonna work on a job, because I've had people say, well, what do they do? And as a commissioner, it's like, well, that's a good question. So she's working on, hopefully getting us a, job description so we can get that position filled.
Yeah. Actually, we should invite them back to a board meeting again. I think it's been a while since it's been invited back. They've been,
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
did make note of that.
okay, very good.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The next item is the Todd County Public Defender Contract for 2022. The background is Todd County is responsible for the provision of public defender services in certain types of cases. Peters Law Office has proposed a contract renewal for 2022. Peters Law Office has provided the county board a summary letter for consideration. Options are to approve the public defender contract or do not. The recommendation is to approve the contract with Peters Law Office for public defender services in Todd County for 2022. There is no change to this contract, just so you're aware of it. Everything stayed the same. It's just a renewal.
Okay. Is there a motion for the Todd County Public Defender contract for 2022?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The last item I have then is the transfer of funds for South Country Health Alliance funds. Background, Todd County became a member of the South Country Health Alliance as of January 1, 2007, and further resolved to withdraw from said alliance as of December 31st, 2019. As part of the exiting terms, capital payments with interest are scheduled to be returned to Todd County. The second installment payment of interest has been receipted into the Human Services and Community Health Funds per audit standards. The Finance Committee recommends transferring these funds from 201, the general fund, to assist with the budgetary essentials of the county. Your options are to approve the attached resolution or do not, and it is the recommendation to approve the attached resolution for the transfer of funds for the South Country Health Alliance Fund.
Is there a motion for the transfer of funds from the South Country Health Alliance?
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. I think next up is Long Prairie Leader.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I think everybody has this, that one.
There you go, thank you.
Thank you. Whoops, sorry.
For the cords. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know which is better here.
Well, this is just the board action, so.
Yep.
Do you want me to read it, or you just
Sure,
want to
go ahead. Go ahead.
The Long Prairie Leader has recognized the desire and need for an independent newspaper in the Osokis area. The Long Prairie Leader is in the development phase of launching a circulation to serve more than 2,000 addresses, including Todd County residents. The new publication will be a free publication distributed via USPS to all residents in the Osakis zip code area. Because it is free, the Long Prairie Leader is seeking partners to provide financial stability. And I'll just open this up for.
Yeah. Included, if you scroll down, I think I had some supporting documentation that was included in the board packet, one of which was a letter kind of explaining the process that this took on. Long story kind of short, back probably about August or so, the city of Osakis approached us about becoming their legal publication. And they wanted to switch from the Echo Press, since the Echo Press Fargo Forum had closed the Osakis Review after 100 years of publishing due to COVID. And there was some hard feelings, I think, and they felt that the community wasn't being serviced like they should have been. Those initial discussions ended up culminating in the Osakis City Council voting to switch to us effective October 1st. Both the city clerk and myself were caught off guard by this. We did not know that that was going to happen. We were planning on a January changeover during the organizational meeting when things are traditionally done. So we kind of put the brakes on that, and that got us thinking, okay, would we cover the city council? Of course we could. Could we do the school board? Of course we could. Well, it kind of evolved into this thing, well, what would an actual newspaper look like? Let's take this a step further, kind of sitting there thinking crazy. Well, that crazy thinking didn't really have any drawbacks aside from the fact that there was no newspaper, there was no subscribers, you know, none of this. Okay, so what do? How do we put this together? How do we get creative? Well, we looked at doing it weekly to start, and that the revenue projections I put together, to do a free newspaper weekly, the amount of advertising that would be required to support the production, distribution, and payroll for it was not small. And it's very difficult to manage and to make happen without a subscriber base, an established subscriber base. So we looked at what would it be if we did it twice weekly. Well, if we do it twice weekly, we can still qualify as a legal newspaper. And so that became a little more attractive. We reduce our production and our distribution costs by half. Our payroll remains the same, but that's fine. So we kind of settled on that, and that's what we've been, that's where our revenue targets that we've been working towards are. During that time, we looked at, okay, because this isn't a legal newspaper, the Osakis Anchor would not be a legal newspaper. It can't be. By law, it simply can't be. However, the Long Prairie Leader is. So we thought, well, since I'm the publisher, I can do just about whatever I want. So I plan on submitting bids to the Osaka City Council, and I intend to submit a bid to the Osaka School District for the Long Prairie Leader to become the legal publication of those entities. I am very confident that they will vote in my favor at this point, just based on what's been taking place over there. And then at that point, since they have an established legal newspaper and it's within my network of publishing, I would then publish all those minutes and notices that are disseminated from those government entities in the Osakis Anchor for free. That's kind of our workaround, okay? It's perfectly legal. There's nothing saying I can't do that. We've run all this through our attorney as well. And the Long Prairie Leader is eligible to service the city of Osakis and the Osakis School District because we do have an established paid circulation base in Osakis. And it's not just a handful of subscribers either. We're in the hundreds. So we do have, we do meet all the eligibility requirements. So does the Echo Press. But since the Echo Press does not have an office or a physical location in the city of Osakis, anybody who borders the city of Osakis is eligible, so long as they meet all other legal requirements for publishing. So that's why we're able to do that. So we got that established, and then I put together our revenue projections and the models that we would need, and we started going out selling, and we started getting the word out. We started first with, well, let's put Osaka Sports in the Long Prairie Leader. We've been covering them the last 2 weeks, and I took it a step further, and I hired on Alicia Sunderman over here. She's been a photographer for me for over a year already, and she was up to the challenge. I said, I got a full-time opportunity. I need somebody, and I need somebody who's motivated, and she was willing to step up to the plate and do that. So Alicia is going to be our person over in Osakis. The Osakis City Council is meeting this coming Monday to vote on whether or not to allow us to have an office in the Osakis Visitor Center. And we've also been in discussions with the Osakis Chamber of Commerce, who primarily uses that facility, about splitting costs on things like internet and phone and that kind of stuff. So it was important to us to have not just a presence in the city of Osakis and the area by, oh, we show up at the meetings. No, we need a place where people can walk in and people can say, this is where our newspaper is. And so that was important to us. I'm confident that they're gonna allow that to happen. They wanted to be creative too. How can we help? How can we help you? How can we get this going? So that's been in the works for primarily since about the beginning. I was very straightforward with them. If we need to rent a physical location, you know, a commercial space downtown with rent, utilities, the whole ball of wax, it's not going to happen. It can't happen. It's too costly. So this was actually their suggestion. We have this space at the visitor center that sits empty 9 months out of the year. We would love to have you there. Okay, I made them an offer. We'll see if they take it. So we got everything pretty well established. Then about probably a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving, we started pre-sales. Now, when I did the pre-sales, I worked with the Chamber of Commerce on helping get the word out, getting in touch with everybody. The response has been overwhelming. We've probably spent, on average, maybe a day to a day and a half in Osakis every week. At the present time, I'm about 3/4 of the way there to raising and securing the necessary advertising on a monthly basis for a full year. My best estimate is it takes about $4,000 to $5,000 a month to publish the newspaper twice a month with production, distribution, and payroll. And we're getting close to about $3,000 that I've raised already per month. So the other part of that is the legal publications. We found that workaround with the City of Osakis and with the Osakis School District. I do want to include the County of Todd and Douglas County as well. What I'm proposing today, the $3.50 per column inch would be supplemental. Because it's not a legal publication, you would not be beholden to it. And I've been in contact with our other publishers in Todd County, Mark Anderson, the managing editor at Staples World, and Ray Benning at the Independent News Herald. So they're very well aware of what I'm up to and what I'm doing, and they have all this information as well. The intent was we would do this, and then next year, the Osakis Anchor would then join the current instead of a 3-way split, it would be a 4-way split after this year, once the 1-year probationary period for legal status is complete at that point. So, and then after that point as well, the Anchor would then make bids on its own accord towards the City of Osakis and Osakis School District. So we'd be able to bypass the Long Prairie Leader entirely. So for now, what I'm proposing is that $3.50, which is the current rate that the three of us each receive. So we each, out of the, I forgot what it was.
It's 3 of you. It's Staples Independent.
Yep, no, but what the total rate is that Staples submits on behalf of us. We split it 3 ways. So, like for instance, the Long Prairie Leader gets the equivalent of $3.50 per column inch right now, and that's what we've been receiving this year. Same with the Independent News Herald, same with Staples World. I'm just requesting that the Osakis Anchor be considered for this coming year at the existing rate. I don't know yet. I've inquired a number of times what Mark intends to submit, so I don't know what he will be submitting. As of right now, the distribution in Osakis, it's split about half. If you look at the distribution map, I believe the distribution map is on there. Yep, circulation. That's direct from the United States Postal Service. So you can see the Lake Osakis right about dead center. It's split about 50-50. Now, there is really no way to split up the postal routes. I mean, we can add postal routes, we can subtract postal routes. Where those postal routes go, one rural carrier may deliver both Douglas County and Todd County. We can't split that up. So if we we wouldn't be able to, let's say, oh, we only want to, or I'd say, hey, I can get you only the Todd County residents. I can't do that. You know, you'd be including everybody. So it's simply not possible to split, to tell the postal carrier only the Todd County residents. Well, that's okay, I guess. Otherwise, that's about it at this point. We're about half to 75% of meeting our goal. We do have a couple other options available to them, and one of them is our printing, and I know that the businesses, it's a big ask of them, and I've been very cognizant of that. I've set our base rate for the advertisers is $7.50 per inch. Our current rate at the Long Prairie Leader is $9 an inch, which will be going up in the coming year. That $7.50 will remain the same for the full year, and to supplement the advertising, whatever we generate over there in commercial printing, like we do the envelopes and stuff for Todd County, if we do the envelopes for the bank or the school or the city, all that revenue that's generated through that goes back to support the anchor. So the only other thing is, that might just be about it. It's been a whirlwind, I'll tell you that. I didn't know what I was entirely getting myself into. Well, I did, but it's come together rather fast. So, but it's been exciting. I've had, well, for instance, 2 weeks ago now, I started the Facebook page for over there, and I've probably generated an additional 10 advertisers just from that alone. We have almost 30 advertisers signed up already. We've had one place turn us down. So
Question?
the desire is there.
I do, Madam Chair, on
Yes.
that, how does this fit into our budget? Is this an increase or?
This is the first we've heard about it, and the budget is complete for 2022.
Yep.
So any commitment you would make now for 2022 would have to come out of the general,
Other general fund.
out of your revenues, yeah.
Ideally, this would have happened in May. That wasn't the case.
I have one question too, Madam Chair.
Yes,
So currently it's the 1050 divided by the three of you. So
Okay,
we
that's what it
can-
was, 1050,
Yeah.
okay.
And so you have 1 year grace, it sounds like, or probationary, whatever.
After, from the start of publication, it's a period of 1 year, and at that point, we can then make an application to the Secretary of State, the Minnesota Secretary of State, along with a circulation audit. Initially, I looked at private carrier like we do for the Leader B section, and to perform a verified circulation audit on that would be costly. By going through the U.S. Postal Service, it's automatic. So I'm already paying for it through the mailing. And I already hold the mailing permits, so it becomes a non-issue.
To follow up with my question. then.
Yep.
And then after that year, you talk like your collaboration would be the four of you then.
Correct.
So are we, which I know we can't anticipate because
Yep.
that would be projecting out, but just say, would that be saving the county money? Because it would be, if you would stay 1050, would that be divided by the four of you then? Or are you anticipating that we should be projecting a higher cost?
A
then?
higher rate increase due to the increase.
Already thinking about budgeting 2023.
No, I understand. I can't anticipate what Mark would propose.
Okay. And I have nothing from him yet this year, so,
Okay, yeah.
so just work on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't anticipate what he would propose to the rest of us. Staples World has traditionally done approximately a 2% increase annually, at least while Brenda was there. I know Mark left it unchanged 1 year, and I do anticipate an increase for this coming year. I don't anticipate that it would be high. I think it would be more in the neighborhood of what the county has traditionally seen. But yes, it would be split 4 ways then.
Okay, thank you for answering that.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm not opposed to this, I'm just saying, with our budget being set, we'd have to take it out of the general fund, right?
Exactly.
What, this has always been my bone with this, because it always comes in after we set our budgets and our levies.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we
So-
had been
Yes.
working so diligently with them, and they were good at getting it in August so we could prepare for it, but just in the last 2 years, it went awry again, is how I
What
want
would
to
be
say
the
it.
total cost to us?
Yes, and we've been working in the background on trying to fix that.
I don't
You
have
know,
my
or-
budget book, I can quick ask, if you,
What the
don't
total would
have it.
cost us for the year, or just, I mean, that'd be approximate, it wouldn't be a,
Okay, I can tell you,
you know, I
well,
don't have it.
I can tell you that we receive a check from Staples every once a month. And it's a blanket Todd County Legals. That's all we know. I mean, we know what we publish, but they don't give a description to us. It's these minutes, it's these notices, so on and so forth. We don't get that from them. I wish we did, but we don't. We received from Staples approximately 12,000 last year.
Getting that.
So, Madam Chair, I can tell you that the city of Osakis is very, very excited about Jason starting a paper in Osakis. They love the name, they love the logo. I know the city council, I talked to a city council member the other night, he's very excited about it. And for me, as a commissioner, I'm excited because it opens up that transparency where, you know, more of my constituents can read what's going on. So,
As far as news coverage, this will be a traditional newspaper.
yeah.
It will be. It'll be just like the Leader, it'll be just like the Independent Herald, it'll be just like the World. We will have some crossover with Douglas County,
Yep.
absolutely, because that is our service area as well. Alicia is going to be a very busy girl. But the way we have it set up, yeah, we do believe that it is serviceable. And I have been very blunt with everybody that I've talked to about this, is that if we do not hit our revenue projections, this does not happen. The Long Prairie Leader, while we came out of COVID sitting very well enough to the point where we're able to take on the initial hit to be able to do this. However, we cannot subsidize it on a month-to-month basis. So if it can't stand on its own 2 feet, it's not happening. Now, does that mean if we don't hit our projections by the end of this month, we're not publishing in January? Well, as of this point, no, we won't. But if we get up close to that 80-90% of what we need, I believe we could probably push it over the edge and start doing it in January. But if that means, on the flip side, if we have to wait till February, we'll do that. Do we have to wait till March? I'll do that. I believe it can work. It may just need a little extra time, is all.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yeah.
The 2022 budget has been set for legal pub at 24,000. So what additional cost to the county is this going to cost to have the anchor for 2022? Is what I guess we need to know for, well, what's it gonna hit our revenue?
What's
What do you
it
anticipate?
gonna hit the general fund?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, we've always said that depends on you guys. Depends on how big your minutes are. Depends on how many notices you send out. Depends on if there's an election year, for instance. You got sample ballots, so on and so forth. I mean, it runs the gamut. I looked at it this morning based on what we've received from Staples, and that was approximately that $11,000 to $12,000. That would be my best guess. If this year is as similar to any other year, I don't know.
Election years will come
It is
out.
election.
This was an
year.
election years. Then I did look through the invoicing, and there were some big months in there. And will that always be the case? No. It could be lower. Absolutely, it could be.
Well, I was kind of looking at 8 to 10, but if you're
Yep.
saying more to 12,
Well, we
Just
had
a-
months. We had months in there where there was only a $300 payment to us.
okay.
So, I'm not budgeting this out or projecting this out. Hey, I'm going to get $1,000 a month from Todd County. No, I'm not. And I do plan on hitting up Douglas County as well.
Yeah.
Because Osakis is, outside of Alexandria, Osakis is the largest population center in Douglas County,
Yes. Yep.
even with it being split in half.
When you publish this, it's, you have to publish all of the ads or none of them? Is it, I guess, you can't pick and choose, you can't just publish like just the minutes or, or just the election, but if we go with it, it has to be 100%?
Everything.
Okay.
It'd be absolutely everything. Everything that would go through Staples that we receive at the Long Prairie Leader would go into here.
Legal papers.
Yep.
It'd be the mirror equivalent of what you guys submit.
Okay, and your price was $350 per column. What if the rate goes higher? We're still locked in at $350 for 22?
Yes. What I'm I have no, right now, I checked with Denise before the meeting started, and I asked, did you receive anything yet? Because I had been emailing, and she said no. So I don't know what his intentions are for 2022. All I could do was base something off of what we are currently doing.
In
this-
2021, we're paying three and a half?
Yep. The 350 an inch is what we are currently each receiving, split 3 ways. So I needed something to work off of. I thought, I'll just do what we're currently doing.
Commissioners?
I think it's a good deal. I mean, we need to keep our public informed.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes.
What would you
I-
like to
Chair,
do?
I'll
Madam Chair, if I may, I did forget one thing. I have been, I was in touch with Chris early in this process that we were kind of toying with this idea and we were kind of on the verge of plowing ahead with it. And was then in touch with some of the department heads. I did talk to Denise some time ago. I talked to Jackie Ock some time ago. One of the things that we are able to do, because we're sharing a lot of costs together, the leader and the anchor, and we've done this with like our Spanish version of the Long Prairie Leader, the monthly Spanish newspaper we still do. Any advertising that the county does in the Leader, we can then do that for half price in the Spanish. So if we do, like the county's been doing energy assistance ads, they've been doing a booster, public health has been doing a full page booster shot ad. We've been able to run both of those in the Spanish newspaper at half price. So if you buy at full price in one, you get it at half price in another. We're opening up a lot of potential people for the county to reach. It's just another way for us to reach people. So, and it becomes, otherwise you have nobody else there. I mean, you could go through the Echo technically, but they don't come close to 2,000 circulation.
Madam Chair, for me, I know Commissioner Newman's probably gonna make the motion or has already, but what we need to do is tie some funding to this. My question to the two sitting to my left here is, can we use our infrastructure money to pay for this?
Off the top of my head, very quick would be no. I don't think of a category, other than the fact that, I mean, we're putting ads out there regarding booster shots and things of that nature. Before I say yes to that, I would want to do a little bit of exploration on that, but we definitely can take a look at it.
Madam Chair, too, if we can just add to that, that's changing on a regular basis, is it not? I mean,
It is
we
changing.
don't know yet.
And there is, right now, there's, going through the legislation process that any funds that counties receive that are under 10 million, there's a potential that might just become regular service money for use without the rules of the American Rescue Plan. That has gone through the Senate, I
has to go to
believe,
the House.
and it has to pass the House next, so.
You say regular money we get every year then?
It would not have the restrictions of the American Rescue Plan.
Okay. Well, we're in that category.
Yes.
We are. Our amount is 4.79. So we're just waiting to hear what the results of that are, and we know things change on a regular basis.
I think tentatively, that's what Commissioner Newman should do, is tie it to that funding, and we can always put it later to.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make a motion.
And the other side of this, if I may, Commissioner, is if we don't start right away in January, you're not beholden to anything in January. If we don't start in February, you're not beholden to anything in February. If we flat out can't hit our marks, this becomes a moot point.
Yep.
If I'm not publishing something, I'm not billing for something. People have asked me, can I write you a check now? I said, no.
Right.
Do not give me money. Not yet. We will invoice you. We won't incur any expenses on this until the end of January. I've incurred some. I think the $25 to get my DBA and the $50 for or $75 for my web domain. That's it. I'm out $100. So, but yeah, if this does not move forward for whatever reason, the county will not be held financially liable.
Okay.
Randy, you want to restate your motion then, if you're going to tie some funding in with it?
Yes. The rate of $350 per column inch based on, it'd be funding, ARPA.
Would that be based on use of American Rescue Plan funds?
Right. ARPA funds.
Kidding?
Okay,
I think his motion should, I'm sorry, Randy, but
Yep.
should say tentative funding. So we're clear that if we have to change it down the road, we can change it.
we can
So-
change it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's leave it at that.
Is there understanding of the motion then? I ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second. Motion by Newman, second by Kircher. Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Lauren?
Nope,
Oh.
we have.
Oh, excuse me. Good morning.
Good morning.
So before us, we have the 2022 City Prosecution Services. We have John Linneman with us today from the County Attorney's Office.
Thanks.
Want to?
I'm here on behalf of Chuck, who couldn't be here. And it's my understanding that the action today is to approve the 2022 agreements for prosecution services in Gray Eagle, Clarissa, Eagle Bend, Bertha Hewitt, and also Bertram.
Don't have that one on here.
I know that, well, I'll leave it at that.
Has it changed at all?
No,
It hasn't. It's the same contract as we've seen other years.
that's right. It's the
Okay.
$500 minimum. It's $150 per hour based on the estimated number of cases going back the last 2 years. I will say this, that going forward, I think it's worth looking at that $150 per case rate, and possibly looking at this as actually billing by, per hour, and having kind of bifurcated rate, an hourly rate for actual work that we do, and a different higher rate if a case goes to a jury trial, because that involves a lot more work, a lot more time. So this is a simple agreement that we have right now, and I think the cities have been happy with it because it's simple and it's somewhat predictable. But going forward, I'd like to take a closer look at what other counties are doing and see if we're in line with the city contracts that Quinlivan has with Browerville and Long Prairie and Staples, just to make sure that we're in the ballpark.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, the board action just read for services of Gray Eagle, Clarissa Eagle, Ben, Bertha, and Hewitt. John, you stated Bertram. I do not have a Bertram contract attached on this.
There isn't one.
There isn't one, so if you have one, we could change this board action. Otherwise, checking, I didn't see one. I was spinning through there if I was making everybody dizzy.
Okay, no, it might have been,
I just wanted to clarify that. And then just checking with my chief here, she said there was no Bertram contract image submitted by your office.
okay, I might have been looking at
That's okay, I just wanted to
an older
clarify.
year. So let's keep the resolution as it is.
Okay.
It's accurate. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion for the 2022 city prosecution service?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Knizel. Discussion?
Madam Chair, John, if you guys come back and want an increase as a board member, I would like to see the numbers that you do prosecute with these cities, so if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Okay,
If we're going to change this formula, we're gonna have to back it up
right,
with actual
Okay.
hours.
thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Morning, Lauren.
Our first item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request for approval of Mndot Agreement Number 1048805. This agreement is basically known as a federal fund exchange agreement, and the basic parts of this is that we were awarded a federal grant, federal transportation grant, for a paving project on County Road 26 for next year. Then it would become a federal project. Mndot has a process to basically swap the money out with another county. So this helps us by basically defederalizing that project and all the work associated with that project in that contract. So basically what would happen if we approve this contract, the project then becomes defederalized, and our federal money then goes to Stearns County, who is willing to accept the money, and then they donate back to us dollar for dollar state money. So it turns federal money into state money. It doesn't hurt Stearns County anyway because they were short federal money anyways. Their project stays the same, but it benefits Todd County by basically defederalizing the project. This happens many times throughout the state. It's a paperwork basic reduction for both us and the state, so the state is very supportive of this process. And we've done this a number of times in the past on a couple projects. So with that, I guess our two options are to approve the attached resolution and Mndot agreement, or do not approve the attached Mndot, or the resolution and Mndot agreement. Our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution and Mndot agreement number 1048805.
Is there a motion to approve the Mndot agreement 1048805?
So moved.
Motion by Knizel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries.
All right, thank you. Our last item on the agenda this morning is a request for final payment authorization for a 2021 highway construction contract, and that's the work that was done this summer by Knife River Corporation on our County Road 12 going east along Prairie out to Swanville. Our 14 project going from Briarville east out to the county line. County Road 102 from Gray Eagle north. And 5 here in town, and some miscellaneous patching contract. Knife River did a fantastic job. Very pleased with the work they've done. We've basically ironed out all the remaining items for the contract, and therefore we're bringing this recommendation to the board for final payment. So our options are to approve the attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution. And our recommendation to approve the attached resolution, making final payment of $190,849.65 to Knife River Corporation.
Is there a motion for the final payment for the 2021 highway construction contract?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Excellent.
Lauren.
Thank you.
Good morning, Nancy.
Morning. We have one agenda item. It's a County Ditch 22 hold harmless agreement, ditch maintenance, and replace a private crossing. Recommendation, the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority, approves a hold harmless agreement petition from Roger Stender and Kyle Pesta to clean approximately 2,800 feet of lateral 3 on County Ditch 22 on parcels 1300-18500 and 1300-18600, and to replace a failing private crossing on parcel 1300-18500 in Iona Township, Section 19. The project will be done at their own expense.
Okay, is there a motion for County Ditch 22 whole harmless agreement?
So moved.
Motion by Kenizel, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion?
Did you want to look at the
Newman.
pictures at all?
Well, it was,
Randy,
they
actually.
both
I think
did.
Randy was before me.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
1 year here's better than the
Yeah.
other, I guess. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Nancy.
Morning, everyone.
Facilities?
Morning, Mitch.
So I have two items. My first item up is new skid steer. The background is the Facilities Committee is recommending the replacement of the current skid steer with a new one. Bids were submitted, with the lowest bid being from Farm Rate Equipment for a total after trade-in of $28,000. The options are to approve the budgeted request of the new skid steer from Farm Rate Equipment for a total of $28,000, or do not approve budgeted request. The recommendation is to approve the budgeted request of a new skid steer from Farm Rate Equipment for a total after trade of $28,000.
Is there a motion for a purchasing of a new skid steer for facilities?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Mitch, are you trading in the old one on this?
Yes, we are trading in our old one. If you go to the attachments, it shows what every other place. We had 3 bids out, Arnold Equipment, Farm Right, and Midwest Machinery. It shows what the total amount was for all of them that they gave in our trade. So that shows the amount of trade-in and then our total after the trade. One thing, we like to get this on this year's budget, but unfortunately, due to the times, we're lucky if we're gonna see it by August of 2022. That's just the way it is. But we'd like to get it for next year's season. We've agreed, that with all of the individuals that we've talked to, that, we'll keep our trade until the year's over, and then we would, at the end of our winter season, get rid of, or whenever the new one would come, so.
Okay.
All right?
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
All right, my next topic is the construction of the HHS viewing room. The background is the Facilities Committee is recommending to add a viewing room to the family visitation area in the HHS department. After numerous attempts to reach out to the construction industry for bids on the construction of the viewing room, only one bid was received from Arnson Construction for $12,202.46. It is the Facilities Committee's belief that the lack of additional bids received is caused by the current excessive workload conditions of the construction industry, difficulty in construction material acquisition, and the ongoing lack of hiring qualified labor within the construction industry. The options are to approve the bid from Arnson Construction for the construction of the HHS viewing room for $12,202.46, or do not approve the construction of the HHS viewing room at this time. The recommendation is approve the bid from Arnson Construction for the HHS viewing room for $12,202.46. And it's coming out of a grant fund 11, I believe it is. This is through HHS and their grant opportunities, so.
Okay, is there a motion for the construction of the HHS viewing room? Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Erickson. Discussion?
What's the time span on this, or when's is
The,
there a lot of waiting involved with
There,
stuff?
there isn't as much because the project is smaller in size in comparison to the other projects that we went forward with. Right now, there is a real problem. Obviously, in the construction industry, everybody's swamped. 3 years ago, if I'd put this project out there, I would have had as many bids as I wanted, especially during the time frame, because winter season's coming. Everybody loves inside work in that field, but it's messy. There isn't as much. We only have one door to add. Obviously, on some of the other projects, there's multiple doors, so it's a little bit tougher. So this should be fairly quick and simple. So.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And approved.
All right, thank you.
Planning and zoning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
First item here this morning is change to section 6.04C of the Planning and Zoning Ordinance. A change to section 6.04C to include event centers as commercial uses was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the September, October, and November Planning Commission meetings. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to include event centers as listed as a commercial use. Event centers would require a conditional use permit in AF1, AF2, R10, R2, urban growth and rural town site, and shoreline zoning. Event centers would be allowable use in commercial zoning and not allowed at all in manufacturing and industry zones. The Planning Commission also recommends the addition of a definition for an event center. The recommended definition reads as follows: event center, a facility whose primary use is to be rented out for general public or private group activities for the benefit of someone other than the property owner, involving the gathering of individuals assembled for a common purpose to attend a special event. These events could include, but are not limited to, civic, educational, political, corporate, or social gatherings such as meetings, weddings, and receptions, dances, entertainment, and similar activities. This definition does not include churches, schools, parks, restaurants, dinner clubs, and township halls. The option would be approve these changes to the ordinance as presented, deny the changes, or to remand back to the Planning Commission. And the recommendation would be a motion to approve the changes to 6.04C to include event centers and include a definition in the ordinance for event centers.
Okay, I guess I got a couple questions if I can, Adam.
Sure.
Is the sites of farming anywhere on this? Sights and smells?
That is
You
a
know,
part of our
because-
ordinance already.
So that would be included in this?
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, it would still apply because it's in the
When
ordinance.
you do a CUP, that's in the CUP, right?
Yeah, so sometimes we place that as a condition of the conditional use to identify that, but either way, that piece is still in our ordinance now anyway.
I would
Yeah.
like to see that maybe a little bit stronger. The other thing is there any number of acres that they have to own in order to have an event center? I mean, are you have to have 5 acres or 10 acres? You can have a 1/4 acre with no parking, you know, I guess this is what,
Yeah.
you know. And the sights and smell, I mean, if you've got a neighbor spreading, liquid manure and you're having a wedding, are we looking at that?
Sure. Yep, and so that would go back to that separate section of the ordinance identifying that you cannot bring any sort of, what am I thinking of? You can't bring any sort of act of law against a farming operation that's in compliance with all these county, state, and federal standards. So,
Okay. But if
kinda-
you're coming from, and I realize that we have one in place already,
Mm-hmm.
and they own a lot of land around it, whatever, they're,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I understand that. But from someone new that's going to come into the area,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to build, and all of a sudden, I'm spreading my liquid pit out, and they're having a wedding, they're not gonna be happy.
Yeah,
And do they
Bryce.
even realize
Mm-hmm.
what they might be getting into? And that's why I also say the acres, if
Yeah.
there's,
So there's no set standard that goes with this. We have just had some event centers that have come in and we've
Yeah.
put them through the conditional use process, but it doesn't explicitly state in our ordinance. And others have argued that that's the reason they don't need a conditional use.
So, Madam Chair, got a question.
yeah,
County rents out the pavilion up at Battle Point Park, okay? Large gathering, wedding,
oh, yeah.
funerals, baptisms, family reunions,
Mhm.
class reunions.
And that's a for-profit for somebody other than the county, correct?
No, it's just the general public using the county facility.
But then, yep, then I won't think that this would apply, because this is a commercial for-profit type
Yep.
scenario.
I still
You
think
know.
we're skidding that.
I don't know, just for discussion, you
Says
know.
parks are exempt though, Randy, so.
Yeah.
And that was part of our discussion that we
restaurants,
worked around with
diner.
Jason
Still
on.
rent it out
Township
to the general
halls.
public.
Right, but
Yeah,
you're exempt from the CUP requirement.
I would say so.
and,
And that, that use exists. Therefore, you would be essentially grandfathered in. These would be coming forward, new ones that
Right.
don't have a conditional use, or existing ones that look to make an expansion or some significant change to the use could trigger conditional use at that time.
okay, and then Jackie, that would have to be inspected, I would presume by the health inspectors?
I would guess it's gonna depend on if they're making food on site, or if they're contracting, somebody to make the food off-site that should have a license, but if they are,
How about the sewers?
that would fall under.
Yeah,
And-
so before we even accept a conditional use application,
Yeah.
you need to prove septic compliance.
Okay,
So, and the other piece, and kind of goes back to the need for this, is that we can place conditions on the on the conditional use permit that the applicant go and get those necessary permits from other governmental agencies such as Health and Human
yeah,
Services.
which should be added
It's,
on
it's
there,
almost automatic.
absolutely.
We always have blanket conditions that say you must do these other licenses, permits, whatever, when necessary. Yep.
Okay,
And again, this doesn't have any sort of performance standards or other requirements. It's just saying you have this land use, you need a conditional use in those
and when
particular
they
zoning
come in and
districts.
apply for the conditional use permits, you could put the conditions on at that time.
Yep, and that's normal process of planning commission and then eventually go before this board for
A-
approval.
and,
So if you see something missing, you just like always have that opportunity to either add it or send it back to the planning commission with those notes.
Okay, any other discussion? I would ask for a motion then.
So moved.
Okay, motion by, and I should read this, change to section 6.04C of the Planning Commission. Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second. What did you
Second
change? You say something was changed?
by Kircher.
That was the board, the action was that it says change into that section. Yeah.
Because we're changing
I thought
that
you were
section.
changing
Oh,
something
no,
in
no,
the board.
it's,
No.
it's a change to
Okay, yep,
section
that's
4,
okay.
or 6.04C. Okay, I have, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. And all pass. Carried.
Okay. Next, the Mississippi Brainerd Memorandum of Agreement and establishment of policy committee members. Todd County, along with planning partners, has received grant funding for the development of the comprehensive watershed management plan through One Watershed, One Plan for the Mississippi Brainerd watershed. In order for to begin the process, Todd County must enter a memorandum of agreement with our planning partners. The MOA has been reviewed by attorney Chuck Rasmussen, and one has also been provided for your review. Additionally, the planning process requires establishment of policy committee members to represent this board at the policy committee meetings. At the November 16th work session, it was decided that Commissioner David Kircher would be appointed as to the policy committee, and Commissioner Barbacker would be appointed as the alternate. So the options would be a motion to approve the MOA and assign policy committee members, to a motion to deny the MOA and assigning those policy committee members, or you could table at this time to allow for additional review. The recommendation would be approve the memorandum of agreement for the Mississippi Brainerd Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan and assign Commissioner David Kircher as a policy committee member and Commissioner Barbacker as the alternate. And this was discussed at that 16th work session. So we're just bringing it back for the official decision.
Okay, is there a motion for approval for the MOA for the Mississippi watershed and the policy committee members? Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel, discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay,
Okay, and then Todd, Saltwater Conservation District vehicle purchase. The SWCDs need a replacement of a vehicle and would like to purchase the attached 2022 Ram 1500 from Dodge of Burnsville via the state bid site. The final cost for the purchase comes with $32,431. The truck will be purchased using $20,000 from the 605 budget and $12,431 from the county feedlot program funds. The county will make this purchase on behalf of the SWCD and then invoice back to the SWCD for reimbursement. The option B, approve the purchase of the 2022 Ram 1500 in the amount of $32,431, or do not approve. And the recommendation would be approve the purchase of the 2022 Ram 1500 in the amount of $32,431 from Dodge of Burnsville via the state bid site.
okay. A motion for the Soil and Water Conservation District for a vehicle purchase.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Can we take 5? Madam Chair, can we take 5?
Okay, we'll take 5-minute break. Okay, we will, back in session, and we will start with the Finance Committee then. The 2022 county budget.
I'm here today to present the 2022 county budget. Background, the county board has approved the preliminary levy on September 7th, 2021, and has held the truth and taxation hearing on December 1st, 2021. It is the recommendation to approve by resolution adopting the 2022 county budget as presented.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the 2022 county budget?
Can we see it?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Oh,
We just went over that at the, at the, so, there we go. Using, no reserves this time. The, yeah, there you go. It balances our expenditures and our revenues at 37,139,041. You see the total revenues up here is what we're anticipating, and the budget balance down here with using no reserves.
is there a motion for the approval of the 2022 county budget?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to thank the Finance Committee and all the department heads for working to get this done. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The next item we have then that follows the budget would be actually approving the 2022 county levy. Background is the county board had approved the primary levy on September 7th, 2021, and has held the truth and taxation hearing on December 1st of 2021. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution to adopt the final 2022 county level at $18,782,800. Oh my goodness, what's my numbers today? $18,782,657 less program aids, therefore certifying a final levy at $17,220,950.
Okay, is there a motion for the 2022 county levy?
And there is the picture of it. So you see certified levy, program aids that we're receiving, local levy, that'll be implicated onto the taxpayers.
And for simplicity, what is the percent?
It ended up being 3.65. And the overall budget increase was just 1%, like 1.08.
Is there a motion to pass the 2022 county levy?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The next item I'm bringing forward today is to talk about the Arpa work plan policy. The background is on March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law, which established the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds program. Todd County has applied for and been awarded a total of $4.7 million of the ARPA funds, which will be received in 2 tranches. The first tranche was received on September 30th, 2021. The attached ARPA work plan policy has been derived and solidified procedures for the use of the ARPA funds, and the parameters of the county leaders should reinforce for eligibility and reporting requirements of this funding opportunity. Our options today are to adopt this work plan policy, or to adopt the work plan policy with edits, if we'd be editing. And we can go through that work plan policy. What we did for the policy, kind of what we do for all of our county policies, the first page just talks about where we received the money and what it's about. The second category is going to list the statutory eligibility uses. There are actually 4 of those components. Here's where we get into the meat of the soup. The reporting eligibility uses, there's now 7 categories that we will be looking at: public health, negative economic impacts, services that disproportionately impacted our communities, premium pay, infrastructure, revenue replacement, and administrative. And then, to make it even more complicated, of those 7, they have a full range of expenditure categories as follows. So under the public health category, they've got these little divisions that we can look at and where we can use the funding. As we had stated earlier in today's meeting, this is ever changing. FAQs come out and change everything, they add things, so this will be a moving target as we get more information. And as Coordinator Pelzer said, it's even in place right now where there may be people under, or counties and cities under 10 million would be able to not have to follow these guidelines and can use the money as they see fit. So this is a ongoing process, and that's why we're calling this a work plan policy. We had to get something in state so our department head and leaders could start utilizing the money, but follow the categories of the audit requirements. So those are our categories currently. They may change, they maybe have additions. Then again, here we talk about how we have the money and we have the deadlines defined and when we can use it. Just make sure that's stated in this policy so everybody knows. Then we get into the committee work groups. We wanted to follow the CARES Act funding perimeters and how these projects travel from the idea of concept to the final approval, and how the internal controls are going to be provided and minimized, so that we do follow all audit standards and the ARPA fund rules, regulations, and guidelines. We kind of came up with a committee workflow so that we know, kind of mimicking the CARES Act. We are going to have the, as you can see below, the community health, county facilities, environmental services, financial, administrative, and infrastructure and public safety. Those are going to be our little category, our committees. When somebody wants to bring forward something to that particular committee, that committee will then present to the finance committee. The finance committee as a group will analyze it and then present the action to the board, so that we kind of have, I don't want to call it a chain of command, but a workflow plan, so that we are following all the guidelines, whether it's financial, audit, state regulations. So as we sat together as a finance committee, we kind of worked on this for like 2.5 hours. And we developed these committees following, like I said, the CARES Act, where we have these committees assigned. We just put lead contact people, and we actually put titles of categories, because we know this plan is going out for 2 years. We don't know what our leadership or elected officials, if they'll still be in those categories when we're finalizing this in 2026. So we listed them as leader contact names by the division name, and then also same thing with the commissioners assigned. We didn't use individual names, we used your district numbers in case somebody would not be here or things would change down the road. So there's our categories that we've defined in this work plan policy. And then we kind of came up with just some priorities for now. This is always, like I said, moving target, adding on. But we wanted to come up with some things to add to this policy so we knew. So we know, obviously, since this is around COVID, that definitely our #1 priority is going to fund health programs to respond to COVID-19, sustainability of the project after the funding sources have expired, impact to the internal control of county community, impact to the external county community, and then availability of other funding sources for proposed projects. We round this out, then, this work plan, talking about the accounting principles, because of course we want to make sure we are compliant with the auditors and following all the guidances and regulations. And then I think we ended up with talking about the monetary thresholds. We're just kind of right now mimicking the county financial policy of the department head's ability to purchase up to $5,000, anything of that subject to the finance committee, and then of course between the $5,000 and $10,000 would be coming to the county board. And my office did, Jolene and I sat down and worked through this as we did the CARES Act. We derived a separate claim form so that our department heads and accountants that are in the county offices that are actually doing the the paperwork will know for tracking, for eligibility, and for all our reporting, because we'll have many reports that we have to submit on a regular basis to the U.S. Treasury that will have these categorized. They'll use the special claims form, and those will be submitted monthly for reconciliation. That way we can keep a running track of where our funds have been spent, and we can report those accordingly, like I said, to the U.S. Treasury. We will have federal reporting that we have to do too. And then these are the project and expenditure reporting that we will have to be required to do. And that's why we want to make sure we have everything in line and intact, so we're not, in CARES Act, it was a little different because we were so under the gun. Everything was rushed. It felt like we were swimming downstairs, running back to people saying, we need that, we need this, we need your expense report, we need you, we need your narrative. This time, we're actually taking the time, and we have the years to do it correctly, so that when it comes to the reporting, every time we're due April 30th of 2022, 2023, we'll be set to go, and everything will be in line, and we won't feel like we're running around with our heads chopped off. But, we made it through CARES Act just fine. We came through the audit, and everything was wonderful. Everybody did a good job, but we're just trying to be proactive. This is just an example of what the ARPA funding request form will look like. We developed this with the project name, the department that's requesting it, the main project contact, in case we'd have to get back to them and say, if we had questions, we have a contact person. We'll have the expenditure category so we know where it's coming out of. And then they have to give us, which is required, right in the FAQ and the requirement by the U.S. Treasury, that they have to come up with a descriptive of the project in significant detail between 50 and 250 words. Now the eligibility factor of this not only is seen by us and determined as the committees, then the board, determine if it's an eligible expense, but also this is something that the auditors, when they question something, will pull up. So this has to be very defined in here. And the U.S. Treasury, they're the ones that are requiring this category, so that has to be very detailed and complete. We're asking for the financial implications. If there was bids or quotes attached, we'll have that. And then we've also added the actual, who's requesting it. We want their signature on there. And then it'll go through the full archiving, so we know, did it go to a work group? Was it approved, denied? Did the finance committee approve or deny that? And if it is something that needs to truly go to the county board, then those are on there as well. This is the actual claim form that my gals work with, because it'll have the vendor name. We'll all need that information, because of course this never is easy, because now they'll also be reporting at the end. If somebody needs a 1099 G form at the end of the year, we have to go back and find all that stuff. So this is why this will be very detailed as well, talking again about the date it happened, the project name, the purchase amount, invoice, and then the categories for us, so we know what category we need to apply it to. So this was a work in progress, and I'm very pleased with it. Like I said, my chief, Jolene, and I presented this to the finance committee. Like I said, we, at that committee, worked 2.5 hours. I don't know if the finance committee or Chris has anything to add, but this, like I said, is a work plan, so if there's any changes or additions or edits you want to do to it, this is the time to do it, but this is our final project as of right now.
Madam Chair, if I could
Yes.
just add to this, Denise and Jolene did an excellent job of putting this information together. This mirrors exactly what we did with the CARES Act. So all of these processes we were doing, we just didn't have them documented because we were dealing with a 5-month time frame for spending funds. So kudos to Denise and Jolene for putting this process together in actual document form.
Okay. I know we went through it on the finance committee too. So, and we were okay with it. I would ask now for a motion for the adoption of this work plan policy for the ARPA funds.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion?
Dave, just so you know, in the use of the funds, I think if you read in there, one of the first lines in the thing that Denise did, there's a word called interim final rule. I don't know how you have an interim final rule, but it's a pretty interesting word.
I saw several categories that my suggestion would fall into.
Madam Chair, if I could also add, the committees that have been proposed really are the same committees that we had with the CARES. So I can get that list back out to you, whatever committee you were on before, it really falls into the same.
Can you refresh my memory, when we had our committee meetings, did we keep minutes?
Some committees did a really good job of documenting all of their activities and their conversations. Some did not, so we're gonna just make sure that that's a requirement, that minutes are kept with
Because the
every.
finance committee doesn't see the discussion, and so I think they should be able to read the discussion that we had on it, because some of us have a little different philosophy on our basis for making the request.
Yep,
So,
that is going to be a requirement, that every committee keeps minutes.
It's a very good idea, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, if I could just add one more thing. One of the things we talked about in finance is as we go through these projects and as they come before the board, we also want to talk about sustainability, and that was one of the check boxes on the form. We need to make sure that when we are spending these dollars, we have a mechanism to sustain that going forward.
That's kind of difficult with $4 million to be sustainable.
If it's a one-time expense,
Yeah.
that's okay. If it isn't
Okay.
ongoing expense, we have to explain how we're going to pay for it.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Commissioners, I feel important with all these microphones up here.
Feel like a
I only need one.
sports hero or something.
Right. My board action form to present today is regarding the Rural Minnesota SEP Employment Services Contract Renewal. We had SEP in here, I believe, about a month or so ago to give their annual updates. So the contract is now presented and would like to ask for approval. So our some background, the Rural Minnesota SEP contracts with Todd County Health and Human Services to provide the Minnesota Family Investment Program and the Diversionary Work Program services. Options are to approve the renewal contract for the Rural Minnesota SEP to provide MFIP and DWP employment services, or to not approve. Our recommendation is to approve the renewal contract for the Rural Minnesota SEP to provide MFIP and DWP employment services.
Okay, is there a motion for them to approve the Rural Minnesota SEP Employment Service Contract?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman, discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Chris?
Madam Chair, I have a board action in front of you today for the 2022 non-union and appointed official salaries. The background for this is the Todd County Board of Commissioners' desire to set salaries for the appointed positions and employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. The wage recommendation on the attached resolution have been reviewed by the Personnel Committee and have been budgeted for 2022. The options are to approve the resolution setting the 2022 non-union and appointed official salaries, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for the 2022 non-union employee appointed official salaries.
Okay, is there a motion for the 2022 non-union and appointed officials
I was just gonna
I was
say,
gonna say,
salaries?
I can't see
Yep.
them.
I'm going to,
I can read the resolution if you'd like, or you can.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you want me to read it?
Might as
Okay.
well.
The 2022 non-union employee appointed official salaries, whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners are responsible for setting the compensation of the county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners desire to follow the same pattern bargained with unions for the non-union county employees and appointed officials, and whereas the agreements include a 2.5% general increase effective the first full pay period worked in January of 2022, pay date January 26 of 2022, and a 3% step increase effective the first full pay period worked in July of 2022, pay date July 27th of 2022 for eligible staff. Staff currently over the maximum of the salary grid shall receive a 1.25% 1/2 general increase effective the first full pay period worked in January of 2022, pay date January 26 of 2022, in accordance with county policy. Now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorize a 2.5% general increase effective the first full pay period worked in January of 2022, pay date January 26, 2022, and a 3% step increase effective the first full pay period worked in July of 2022, the pay date July 27, 2022, for eligible staff. Staff currently over the maximum of the salary grid shall receive a 1.25% 1/2 general increase effective the first full pay period worked in January 2022, pay date January 26, 2022, in accordance with county policy.
Okay. Is there a motion for approval for the non-union and appointed official staff salaries?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kanizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you. The next board action I have is the 2022-2024 Afscme HHS contract. The background for this is the Todd County negotiations team met with the Health and Human Services Union representatives, and we have reached a tentative agreement. Highlights of the agreement include a change to health insurance coverage to SMART plans. With the elimination of the low deductible plan in 2023, the county will continue having strong premium cost sharing. There will be a 2.5% general wage increase for 2022, 2023, and 24, as well as a change to the MSRS contributions for employees hired on or after 1/1 of 2022. The options are to adopt the tentative agreed HHS contract or do not adopt the tentative HHS contract, and the recommendation is the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorize the adoption of the HHS unit collective bargaining agreement for 2022 through 2024.
Okay, and there must have been then that mistake has been okayed?
Yep, I have
So,
it here.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, there was, the document that was submitted, the contract that was submitted within the board packet had an error. That error has been corrected, and you are being presented with the updated contract.
Okay. Then I will ask for a motion for the approval of the Afscme HHS contract.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you. The next board action that I have is for the 2022 through 2024 Afscme Public Works contract, and the background for this is the Todd County negotiations team met with the Public Works Union representatives, and we have reached a tentative agreement. Highlights of the agreement include a change to health insurance coverage to SMART plans. With the elimination of the low deductible plan in 2023, the county will continue having strong premium cost sharing. There will be a 2.5% general wage increase for 2022, 2023, and 2024, as well as a change to the MSRS contribution for employees hired on or after 1/1 of 2022. The options are to adopt the tentative agreed Public Works contract or to not adopt the tentative agreed Public Works contract, and the recommendation is the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorize the adoption of the Public Works Unit Collective Bargaining Agreement for 2022 through 2024.
Okay, is there a motion for the approval of the Afscme Public Works contract for the years 22 through 2024?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kanizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. Chris?
Madam Chair, I just want to thank the negotiations team and also thank the, both of the bargaining units for the work that they've done on these contracts.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
And now, we'll be going into closed session for negotiation strategies. The commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant Minnesota statute 13D.03 to consider strategies for labor negotiations. And the time is 10:36.
Closed session at 10:06.
resume the meeting from closed session. The time is 10:47. Now, we will go into closed session for performance evaluation of the county coordinator. The commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant to statute, Minnesota statute 13D.05, sub 3A, for the purpose of evaluating the performance of an individual subject to the board's authority. And the time is 10:47.
Thank you. Recordings are going.
Are we okay then? Okay, we are back in session from the closed session. The time is now 11:09, and we had the closed session for performance evaluation. The evaluation was cited as successful. So we will go into the standing reports. Auditor Treasurer?
Just some things to wrap up from the last meeting. November settlement went out, that's what you've seen today on those check payouts, that's why it was so large. That all settled, and we are now we had the TNT meeting. Everything's been completed and reviewed. Levies and budgets were set today, so we'll work on getting those submitted to the state. CLA was on site last week, so we had our pre-audit. They were gathering everything, getting ready for the audit. They will be also here in January to do the HHS side for a couple days. Everything seems to be running very smoothly, so that's great success. It was just at AMC with the board and Chris Pelzer. That was a very good conference. Got a lot of information from that, and I appreciate that I was able to attend that. And I think that's all I have to report.
Okay, Commissioners' reports?
Had a good time down at AMC. I was glad to go face-to-face with our fellow commissioners. It was also nice to see that they invited the 2020 retiring commissioners down there. So we got to see what they were doing and enjoying life. And then yesterday I was notified that Commissioner Gene Anderson from Kennebec County suddenly passed away. He was their board chair. So my condolences go out to his family.
Nope, I'm good.
Dave?
Madam Chair, after last board meeting, I attended my last Great Regional Library board meeting. I termed out. So I had served 9 years on that board, so we need to appoint, coming up in January, a new representative, and my suggestion would be Commissioner Kneisel, because he did lose the South Country committee, so I'd like to have him appointed to that, so.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. It's the way that works with the Long Prairie watershed too, so we just can't.
Mississippi.
So anyway, that's my suggestion, Madam Chair, but I did enjoy serving on that board. I was chair at one time of the Great Regional Library, and that was an honor, and it was a very nice board to serve on, so. That's all I have.
Gary? Any reports?
No, I guess not.
Okay. As most of us were at the AMC convention beginning of this week, a very good time. A lot of very, very good work sessions. Hopefully we can bring some of that knowledge back to us as we continue on. With that, the coordinators report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also attended the AMC conference and found many of the sessions to be very valuable, and also just the time with the commissioners and with other administrators and coordinators. I do want to just share with you that during the AMC conference, MCIT has an award ceremony, and during their award ceremony, they were presenting Todd County with an award of achievement, and I'd like to just talk a little bit about that if I can. So the press release that went out on December 7th stated that Todd County was the 2021 recipient of MCIT's award for outstanding performance in the property casualty division. Each year, MCIT looks for the county that has demonstrated steady improvement in its risk management and loss control efforts, its claims handling and practices, and its overall responsiveness to MCIT during the past 5 years. So the criteria that they look at to identify the recipient includes risk management, loss control, customer service, and property casualty claims. So during our banquet, they did present us with the 2021 Outstanding Performance plaque. And I want to just take a moment and share a thank you to the Auditor Treasurer's Office, who actually collects all of this information and does the reporting for us. But I also want to thank all of the department heads, because they do some of the back-end work in getting that information to the Auditor's Office. And congratulations to you as a board for receiving this award.
Good, thank you.
And we accepted it for the whole county, for the, yeah.
Yep, so kudos to all of you.
And so now we have to find a place to place it.
So, and then I will, at some point, once we're done with work session, I will get a picture of the full board for the award. Thank you very much.
They had a dinner. Extra
Anything else,
cheesecake
Chris?
at our-
Nope, that would be it.
With that, then we will recess until December 21st. And we will go into work session then.
Is there anything?
Our work session?
You're gonna have to pull that closer to you.
Yes, we need a mic over.
To the work session. It is now 11:18, and we will start with the Northern Pines updates. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having us today to be able to give you an update from Northern Pines Mental Health Center, the community mental health center that serves the 6 counties here in rural central Minnesota. My name is Laura Vaughn. I am the executive director. I have with me Kate Sullivan, director of operations, and Kim Schaefbauer, clinical director. I see we only have 5 minutes. And unfortunately, you got the 3 chattiest people from the organization. So we will do our best to be concise and brief.
I hate to tell you this, but you started at 11 o'clock and it's now 11:19.
Yeah,
so-
see? Oh, my goodness. So there you
Thank
go.
you for having us.
I think you'll be okay on time.
Yes.
Mike.
This is good mental health.
That's right. Laughter is your best medicine, right? Again, in all seriousness, thank you very much for having us. So I'm going to start out with an overview of Northern Pines and kind of where we've been in the last couple of years and where we're headed. Kate's going to talk a little bit more about some specific programs, and then Kim's going to talk about some specific programs as well. Northern Pines is a part of a pilot program, and I came 2 years ago to speak about this, called the CCBHC, Certified Clinical Behavioral Health Centers. It's an integrated approach to mental health. We have integrated programs so that if a client or someone is in need of multiple services, they would have one treatment plan with a team of mental health professionals and practitioners who would help in their recovery, whether that be mental health and outpatient or substance use. We have found this program to be very successful in the recovery efforts throughout our organization, and so we're very proud to be a part of that demonstration project. It is moving forward and will become a part of a state plan amendment starting July 1 of 2022. So this program not only is a part of, or we were one of 6 demonstration clinics, but now there are over 23 CCBHC certified clinics within Minnesota. The board of directors and I have been working on a project. They've asked me to expand our mission footprint, and we have worked under services, which is part of the mission, but also educational programming and supportive services is part of our mission. We have a very exciting announcement that will happen in the new year. We are working right now on the business plan, and I hope to be invited back to tell you more about that as we develop that and as more information is available. One of the really exciting things that we have been working on this last year during COVID has been care coordination. To give an example of care coordination, it really is a dedicated individual who is in each of our programs, who helps to provide resources and provide follow-up services. The AMHI, Adult Mental Health Initiative, provides funding for us, as an example, for care coordination for services after a mobile crisis outreach visit, so a crisis visit. We learned a lot this last year. We would call back clients after they received a mobile crisis intervention from one of our staff and ask them if they were interested in crisis stabilization. Well, that's sort of an industry term that we've realized is not a very friendly term for somebody to receive afterwards. And so we're really looking at that language and the way that we interact with folks. We're asking, would you like more services? We're asking questions, how can we be helpful to you or your family to provide stabilizing services so that the crisis doesn't happen again. We hope that, and what we're looking at now, and I do believe the data will confirm, is that by having this care coordinator providing resources and assisting folks after the mobile crisis intervention, that it will reduce the amount of recidivism to hospitals when someone is struggling with their mental health. So that is the aim of care coordination. From a staffing standpoint, I just want to let you know that over the last 2 years, we're very proud that Northern Pines has only had a 9% turnover rate. That is the lowest that our agency has had for very many years. And currently, we do have 25 positions open in the organization. As all of us are experiencing, the workforce shortage concerns have always been a part of rural mental health, but we are seeing that as well. Are there any questions about the overview, or would you like us to just kind of go through each of our presentation and then wait questions until at the end?
Any questions right now? Oh, continue on.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. I'm Kate, I'm the Director of Operations, and I will just give you a little overview of several of the programs that we have at Northern Pines. So our first one is we do provide mental health services in the schools in your county, and that's going really well. We have professionals and practitioners in those schools, as well as we provide in-home services for families that need it as well. We reopened our drop-in center at our Staples outpatient office, and that's been going really well. It's opened 3 days a week right now, with the ability to expand those hours as we see we need that. We do provide targeted case management in Todd County for Todd County clients in both children and adults. And we have three dedicated children's mental health targeted case managers. We have the capacity for more clients in many of our programs. So we have ACT, Y-ACT, which is the intensive services that we provide, and that's for adults and children. So wrap around, but it's at that intense level where we look to provide services at least a minimum of 3 days a week, and that's in the community. So we go to their home at least a minimum of 3 days a week, and that's at that intense programs. We also provide ARMS services, so adult rehabilitative mental health services, and in all of our programs, we do have the capacity for growth. Even though we do have a shortage right now, we are working diligently to expand our staffing. Challenges that we see in the programs that I had mentioned, I would say our biggest challenge for us in children's programming is we're gearing up now for our summer program. So when schools are out, mental health obviously does not take a break in the summer. And so we try to have that continuity of care for the children that we serve throughout the school year. Transportation is always a challenge for us. The buses don't run in the summertime. And so now that it falls then to Northern Pines to try to figure out a way to get these children in and have, continue that services. So that is one area that we're always just like looking for suggestions or any kind of help or assistance in that area. But we're really excited about summer. Always we go into it very excited about summer programming, and we just hopefully will have a successful summer program despite our challenges. Are there any questions for me?
Madam Chair, have you noticed an increase in the children in schools because of COVID or something?
Most definitely, and Kim will speak a little bit to that right now. She has a little bit of data to share with you about children and the increase that we have seen recently.
Yeah, I can start with that. Our mobile crisis team, they were looking at their data actually this morning when I was up there. And we looked in 2019, our calls, and I don't have my specifics, but it's pretty close.
Kim, could you pull the microphone
Oh,
closer to you?
sorry.
Thank you. There
Yep.
you go. There you go.
In 2019, we were looking at our mobile crisis calls when they go out in the community. We were looking at 20% were with children and families. And now in the fourth quarter, we've been noticing an uptick in calls, and when they looked at our data, we were at 43% just in the fourth quarter. So it's been increasing over the last 3 years. I would guess the pandemic, this would be a guess, was very difficult on children and families, and now we're seeing the aftermath of that. So I can keep you posted on that. And I thought we have the capability within our electronic health record to run that data, which is nice as well. And so that team was just curious because they felt that they had been seeing a lot of children and families. Questions about that?
And they're seeing younger as well, just to add to that. We did
That's
have
true.
MCO speak the other day, and they're just seeing younger and younger. Just this past week, our director shared with me that he had 3 calls within 2 days of suicidal, and the youngest was 7.
Oh, my.
So we're seeing younger and younger, as well as an increase in those numbers, so.
I got a question. Are you in all the school districts within Todd County then?
The only one is Browerville that
Yeah.
we are not.
You are not in Burrville?
We are
Right,
not in
but
Browerville.
we're in every other school except Broward.
Is that a contract you hold between the school and your service then?
Yes,
Okay.
We do.
We were in Briarville, though.
We
We were.
Yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
We have outpatient offices in Staples and Long Prairie. All of our staff are back. We're using a hybrid model, so face-to-face or else telehealth, whatever works best for the clients. Psychiatry services are available. Those are telehealth services, so that crosses all of the counties. And we're hopeful to work with MCO and law enforcement. Mike and I were just talking prior to this. That's the new push, and we're starting to do a ride-along. Our MCO director is starting to do a ride-along in Crow Wing County. Hopefully, we can move that towards Todd County and get that moving in the right direction and be able to connect and collaborate with law enforcement. Any questions for me?
I do, I'll just ask, I know we've talked about jail, providing jail mental health issues or services. And Laura, maybe you can speak to this, or one of you, are we trying to make some impacts on the jails and what we're doing?
We are.
I should say what you're doing,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We are doing mobile crisis assessments in jail on a regular basis. We have that all set up. We are now trying to implement some of our psychiatric services to those jails that don't have MEND. So we're utilizing the RAP, which is part of the RAP is the rapid access that the counties are gonna pay for that appointment for psychiatry. So we've actually been looking at that when it's necessary, when it's been requested by counties. Oh, I forgot our Safe Harbor program. We have a crisis bed program, residential, also with 2 IRTS beds. So a client can stay there for 3 months if they are in the IRTS program, or else it's crisis. So a lot of times an MCO call the individual, if they do not meet the criteria for hospitalization but need some assistance in dealing with the crisis in their life and getting back on their feet again, and they can stay for 10 days. Sometimes it gets extended, but we assist them in transitioning them back to the community. That's been a really successful program as well.
I'm sorry. It always happens at the worst time. And I don't have COVID, I promise. I don't have COVID.
We even had our masks ready to come in if we needed to.
And I can put mine on. Goodness. Oh, thank you so much. How kind of you. That's mental health. That's good mental health, right? When you see somebody who needs help. Thank you. Thank you. If I could just say one more thing about the jail programs. At the federal level, so you may be aware that when someone is incarcerated, they lose their Medicare, Medicaid benefits. And I have done extensive work with our Association for Community Mental Health and speaking directly with Representative Pete Stauber, who was a former law enforcement person. He believes fully that even if we could reinstate Medicaid or Medicare benefits 1 month before the service or their time has been spent, that Northern Pines or any other community mental health could come in that time, establish services, and my dream would be that that day of release would be a day right into whatever types of services they would need, whether that's substance use or mental health or armed services, housing. And so there is a push for that. I don't know where that is right now. I apologize to say, but I know that there is appetite at the federal level to be able to do that so that we can be able to get in there earlier. We know that that gap time, once somebody has been released, is really a vital time to be able to get services established.
Jackie?
Laura, let me add, MAXA, which is the Minnesota Association of County Social Service Directors or Administrators. That is a priority for us as well, to push this position forward around Medicaid, services for those who are serving time in the jail.
Could the county boards do a resolution in support of that?
I think that would be wonderful. I can follow up with Matt Freeman, who was our executive director with MAXA, to see how that would influence that position statement.
I think I could get 36 other counties to do it. I'm on MRC, so that would have a bigger impact, so.
And we've had the same discussion at corrections meetings too, about that time when release is and that vulnerable time in there.
Save
Yeah.
the county money.
Yeah, yeah. And they are most likely eligible for those fundings anyway, so just to backdate that 30 days would be, I think, tremendous for closing the gap.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you
for the
very
work you
much.
do.
Thank you very much.
Happy holidays.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Nice job, always. Steph is not able to be here today, correct? Corey had something come up unexpectedly, so we'll have to reschedule him for another time.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
Jackie, I seen the other day you put a email out about HHS days. I was going to have you bring that up today during the board meeting. I even wrote it on my notes. Forgot. I apologize for not doing that during our board meeting.
So our governor proclaimed December 8th, if I recall, as Health and Human
Yes.
Services Worker Day. So I took the opportunity to send out a quick email. There was some treats that were distributed throughout the, some of the break rooms, just thanking all of our employees and staff for the work that they do each and every day. It's stressful. It doesn't come with a lot of gratitude, but I did take the opportunity to thank them for what they do.
And I
We
think
all appreciate that.
you actually had a proclamation that was written up, and I so apologize for not bringing that forward during the board meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you for the recognition.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank them. Okay, I'll let you go
Okay,
ahead.
sure. This is a follow-up from the previous work session related to vacation rental properties and the need for an ordinance and licensing through Health and Human Services. I believe we left off the previous meeting. You guys were looking for some more information from us, and I believe David had sent those ordinances and stuff out. So ultimately, what we're looking for here is if you have any additional comments, direction, and hopefully get the blessing that we can start moving forward on developing that ordinance and get it on a planning commission agenda going forward. I don't know if you have anything else to add at the moment.
No, I did connect with the Department of Health, and lodging code is outdated. So they do really encourage us to follow along with the Department of Revenue's definition of what Chris brought out in our last meeting around what the definition of a vacation home rental would be, because I think that, and again, I believe Chris sent that out to everyone. I think that's really helpful for us as well for licensing, because otherwise lodging is defined as a hotel, a resort, or a lodging establishment. None of those really fit really well with this definition.
And the things I would envision putting in the ordinance is a definition, similar to the item I brought today about our event centers. We would add something to our either commercial uses or residential uses, and then create a whole new section, section 9.23 of our ordinance, with that would set up the performance standards that these folks operating would have to abide by. But we wanted the opportunity to hear your comments before we started kicking this process off, hopefully get some direction on what do you anticipate seeing in this ordinance, and then hopefully get your blessing to continue that process. So I guess we'll turn over to you guys then.
Yeah, and I think you're right when you say, you know, it can be in any part, A1, A2, other than commercials, the same, I would think, as the ordinance we've seen today, because it's all over. You know, people want to get out in the country with their side-by-sides or four-wheelers, or, and I see this happening more and more, and people are using it as a means of vacation and staying in places, yeah. Commissioners?
I don't know, I just see we're taking more and more people's rights away. I just don't get it. You know, if you got a piece of property and you're paying big bucks for it and you want to let somebody stay in it, why not?
And that's where looking at some of the neighboring ordinances, they have them set up to a certain standard where you wouldn't need a conditional use. You may need licensing, and and that's really out of our hands as I understand it, because it's state handed down by the state. But setting this up so you may not need additional permitting through our office, but you still need to abide by the performance standard set there. And once you get up to a certain size or have multiple dwellings on a parcel, that may trigger the need for a conditional use. So I guess in my mind, that's where I envision from the P&Z perspective going a little bit of that direction, to not try to interfere as much as possible.
And again, our licensing, with our food pools and lodging delegation, like Adam said, that's given the authority through state statute. So it's required at this time that we follow that guidance from the state. Is very minimal. I mean, it's a $170 base fee. It's every other year inspections, because if they don't have a licensed kitchen, they're not required to be licensed or inspected annually. Again, it's making sure the water's tested, that kind of thing. So it would be very minimal, I see on our end. And it's really just a way, Chris has done a good job in his department identifying these properties, so we'd be able to license them pretty simply.
And that's another good thing to note is the implications of this ordinance go beyond just the planning and zoning office. It's beneficial to other county offices too. So first off, in developing that ordinance makes it easier to have a group effort, but also hopefully there's multiple benefits from it.
Madam Chair, if we can back up, is the Planning Commission going to review this? Or
Yep, this would go through that normal process. Basically, we're here today to, get the go-ahead to start the process. We would develop a draft ordinance, bring it to a future Planning Commission meeting for public hearing and input, and they'd rehash through it in whatever amount of time that takes to get it to a good spot, and they're comfortable to approve it. Then it would come back before this board here.
Keep saying ordinance, but to me, it's just an addition to our current ordinance. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's an additional section.
Right.
Yes, sorry.
I thought, well, it's going to be a separate ordinance, and no, it's going to be
It would be a new section to our existing ordinance. Yes.
Right,
Thank
and
you
we
for
like to follow planning and zoning, so then we would update our food pools and lodging policies and procedures, and we'd probably have to bring those as well. But it fits right now within our current fee schedule, so that wouldn't be a concern on our end.
So what are we doing? I believe we have one that's kind of, but how this all became part of this discussion, that we have one out there that has to be inspected? Two?
The city of Osakis is in the process of passing their own ordinance, so they have their own planning and zoning. They are in the process of passing a short-term vacation rental ordinance. They had a public hearing last week, I believe, and it will go to vote this month and go most likely into effect January 1. So because of that ordinance being there and it's stating they will be licensed by the appropriate public health authority, we will have two that we'll have to move forward with the city of Osakis starting January. So of course we want consistency across the county. So we'd like it to be, because City of Osaka, strange enough, is following Douglas County's ordinance, but that doesn't have any authority here. So we would be moving forward with the licensing based on lodging code, state lodging code, until, of course, we get a local ordinance, which would, of course, can't be less restrictive, but would give us more guidance with these properties. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so it'll be our inspector that will be going over there inspecting
Yep,
this.
I've already spoken to Morrison County. Yep.
Yep. And I think Crow Wing County put something in it, in effect.
Crow Wing County
too,
has
so-
a very nice short ordinance that I actually really like. That's very simple to follow, and they just went into effect last year, and they're seeing really positive response from it. So
Okay, yeah.
there's no other comments, I guess, we will, unless we hear otherwise, we'll plan to start moving forward on development of this ordinance. I think it's something that's important for many different departments. So outside of that, hopefully in the near future, we'll have something to bring back for review.
Madam Chair, I have a
Yes.
question, kind of leading toward Randy's statement. What if we just leave it alone?
So state requires that if we're aware of vacation home rentals, that we are required to license and inspect them. So at this point, we think it'd be nice to have a local ordinance because that allows us some local control over it. But the state has stated in previous emails that that is a requirement for our food, pools, and lodging delegation. So we would have to move forward regardless.
Right.
We like to follow planning and zoning because it gives us more parameters around capacity, parking, septic, all those things that doesn't really fall in our purview. We're more inside the building. But then it allows us to make sure that they're complying with, planning and zoning and what the requirements are there. Just like we do with campgrounds, just like we do with other things. So if it weren't to go forward, we would still have to move forward. So, Madam Chair, who's going to police this? Who's going to police it? The neighborhood? Or is staff going to go out and look for? Every other year, we would be doing inspections or
Are you going to be sitting
sanitarians.
on the computer looking for VRBOs that you can find in Todd County?
At this point, the assessor's office has a nice list. We would be going off of their list.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't think we have the manpower for anybody to go out and look for.
Well, it's a state requirement, but it just seems like, okay, but if you just leave it alone, you're gonna follow state requirements. I mean, yeah, you're gonna go out there and probably say, well, your septic doesn't look very good, and you could report that to planning and zoning, but it just seems that we gotta put everything in writing all the time, and I get a little leery about putting everything in writing all the time, so it's just kinda like, pretty soon our ordinance book's gonna be this thick.
And I don't want that either.
So, if we can look at the short and quick version of crowing, maybe we can.
Yep, I do have a copy of it. It's about 4 pages, which is very nice. I think we have to understand they have higher use, these properties, more people, more
Yeah, well,
septic,
yeah,
things like that.
Absolutely.
Right, and also the idea of being a good neighbor, knowing who owns these properties. So if the neighbors have concerns, it's not always easy having new tenants every week in a property next door. So I think that's part of it too. We want to ensure that they're being respectful of the neighboring properties as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's like putting a hoodie on with 20 of your friends and going first shot.
Session